Hello and welcome to Round Glass. I'm Leah Cullis and I'm your guide for our yoga session today. Today we'll be slowing down so that we can nourish our bodies, our minds, and our hearts. We live in a very fast-paced, hyper-productive world. And given all of these extraordinary challenges of simply being alive today, it's essential that we carve out time for our own self-care. I know that I identify as a recovering type A who likes to take on a good challenge. And I also know that in order to perform at such a level at different times in my life, it's essential for me to rest and recover as well. Maybe you resonate. In this session today, we'll take 30 minutes, we'll slow down, we'll take just a few poses together, a few postures, and the intention is really to borrow from the yin yoga tradition, where we will take the posture and then we'll hold it for a longer while so that we can soften our muscles. When we soften our muscles, we allow the connective tissue that runs through our whole bodies, but especially around our joints, to access the prana that we feel and that we generate within yoga postures. And that allows our connective tissues and our joints, as well as our body, minds, and spirits to be nourished. So let's begin. Today you see that I'm seated on a bolster. I always love having lots of props around me when I practice. So I invite you to grab either a couple of yoga blocks, a couple cushions from the couch, or whatever you've got to help support you, especially in these longer holds. We don't want to muscle through anything. We want to soften so that we can receive the nourishment from the postures and our breath. We'll begin in a short and simple meditation. So go ahead and slide one of your props underneath your seat so you're upright, and you can lift your heart and the crown of your head high. Then for today, let's ground our palms to the thighs and close your eyes or simply shift your gaze to the earth when you're ready. Turn your attention into the flow of your natural breath. It's important to understand the qualities of your breath as we begin. So then you have a measure for how your body, how your mind are responding to the postures within the practice and the results that you create from your practice off your mat when we're complete. So take these first few moments to slow down and be still. Simply watch your breath. Now bring one hand to your heart, one hand to your low belly. And ask yourself, what does nourishment feel like today? How do I feel when I am nourished? Let those answers guide your way, be a guiding light for you, and aim within each posture. Let's meet with our hands in heart center. Lift your heart up into your thumbs. Sit up tall and bright. Take a deep breath in. Open mouth, exhale. Bow your head to your heart. Release your hands to your thighs. Open your eyes and lift your gaze. Okay, yogis, we'll begin in a downward facing dog, and then we'll progress into a half pigeon variation. In the yin tradition, it's known as sleeping swan. So come into your downward facing dog. Just slide any props you have off to the outer edges of your mat. Place your hands to the top of your mat. Extend your legs back behind you. Ground through your hands. Lift your tail high. Make long lines from your wrists up to your hips and from your hips down to your heels. Let your breath radiate through your whole body, in and out of your nose. You can always bend your knees to get more length in your spine. Softening your knees, softening your joints is usually an access to greater integration and more energy. All right, next inhale, sweep your right leg high. On your exhale, step your right knee to your right wrist. It may take a couple steps to get there. Your heel will be closer to your left hip point today. And then untuck your left toes. Press up into your finger pads. Now, rock your weight onto your right cheek and bend your left knee out to the side. So this is a bit of a stag position. We're going to keep our weight rooted down on the right hip and then fold forward like half pigeon. This is an awesome place to use your props to help lift the earth up to you. We'll hold this shape for a couple of minutes, and you never want to push into any of your tissues. Push yourself into a pose. Just come into the shape where you feel a level of sensation, where you feel the shape starting to wake up your tissues, and then soften into it. So we want to find the edge and then soften around it. So lay your forehead down, whether it's on your prayer hands, on your forearms, or on your cushion, and start to deepen your breath in and out of your nose. As you breathe in, send your breath deep down into the tissues where you feel this pose starting to illuminate some sensation. And as you exhale, notice if you can soften around that edge. Allow yourself to be supported here. So your weight is fully in your arms and on your right outside hip. Your legs are resting. No need to activate. Simply breathe and lean in. When new sensations arise, acknowledge them and allow them to come up. Within the acknowledgement, you get more of a full view of what's happening in your body. Use each exhale to get comfortable within your own space. And know that this deep understanding of yourself, of your body, of your breath, of your mind, is nourishing to the spirit. Right? It's an inward focus. We have a few more breaths here. If you'd like to progress into the posture, you can go ahead and extend your left leg back. Notice we're accessing a whole different area of the hips. Couple more deep breaths here, yogis. And then place your hands to the earth or to your props right underneath your shoulders. Lift your heart high, even look up. Take a big breath in and open mouth, exhale. All right, rock your weight fully onto your right hip. Swing your left leg around. We'll just switch sides. So this time our left shin is forward. Extend your right leg back and then bend your knee out to the right side of your mat. Weight is on your outside left hip. Inhale, stretch your heart forward. Exhale, surrender down. Allow yourself to settle into the stillness. The reason why we hold these postures longer is because it takes a while to soften the muscles. In our modern culture, we're so used to doing more faster that it takes some time for the body to respond to this new invitation of slowing down, of tuning in, and allowing your pranic-filled breath to nourish you on a cellular level. So with each breath, can you tune in more? Notice what's happening on the inside. With every exhale, can you soften into the process that you've empowered through taking the pose, slowing down, and simply receiving the benefits from the posture and your breath. Receiving the benefits from your full attention. If you'd like to move into more half pigeon variation, reach your right toes behind you, turn your right hip point down towards the ground. A couple more deep breaths here. Place your palms down to your mat or to your props. Lift your heart and your head up towards the sky. One nourishing breath here. And then rock your weight onto your left hip. Swing both legs around. Come into Sukhasana easy pose. Palms to your knees. Close your eyes. And just notice how you feel now. Take a big breath in. Open mouth, exhale. Blink your eyes open. The next shape that we'll take is half frog pose. Half frog pose. So I'll show you the leg setup and then we'll bring our props into the picture. Extend your right leg forward, rock your weight onto your right outside hip, and then sweep your left leg, so your knee is pointing in the opposite direction of your right knee. Your left heel is back by your hip. If this is too much, you can always sit up on a block, and that'll lessen the intensity of the stretch. You can also move your knee in slightly or out. We all have different bone shapes and different ways that our tissues are connecting, especially at a major joint like the hips. So play with your positioning to find the unique edge for you, that space between too much and not enough. All right, then the first position we'll take in this half frog is we'll fold over the extended leg. So flex your right foot, turn all your toes up to the sky, activate your leg muscles, and then let it all go. We want to soften here so that we can nourish the connective tissue. Frame your right thigh. Inhale, lift your heart up. Exhale, pour forward over your right leg. Now you can come down to your hands. You can use one of your blocks on your shin. Give yourself a little headrest. This is also a great place to use a cushion. Let it be comfy. Why not when you're slowing down and nourishing? So I have my cushion snuggled in towards my ribs to give my torso some more support. And then I'm going to place my hands like a pillow and rest my forehead down. Once you come into the pose, close your eyes and dive deeply into your breath. When we hold steady and still within a pose, we start to train our bodies and our minds to relax. We're not turning off, we're not numbing out. We're actually leaning fully into sensation, inviting in a healthy amount of stress. We're encouraging growth, ourselves to grow. But we're doing it in a way that is full of restoration and nourishment. Couple more breaths here, yogis. Notice where you feel sensation now and how it's shifted even within this one pose. Use your hands and your arms to press yourself up to a neutral spine. Then we'll keep the same leg position. Stay with me here. Turn to face the center of your check mark. This will access all new tissues within your hips. You can use your bolster or you can even use your blocks here. Make a little tower to support you. I'll start off on my forearms. I like to place my palms together. Inhale, scoop your heart forward through your upper arm bones. Exhale, simply drop your head. Send your breath to where sensation shows up for you. So the body communicates in the language of sensation, right? You feel something. So in the yoga practice, it's a time to tune in and listen to that divine communication from your body that's only for you, uniquely for you. When sensation shows up, respond with your calm, equanimous breath. We've got 3 more rounds of deep, full, pranic-filled breaths here. Stay with it, almost there. Now, just as mindfully as we entered into the pose, we come out of the pose in the same way. Slowly bring your hands to the earth. Shift your weight gently onto your right hip. Sweep your left leg around. Bring your legs closer to center. And gently pedal out your knees. Notice the difference between your 2 sides. Swing your feet side to side. So these gentle rocks between poses are helping us circulate the prana, the vital life force energy that we've created within the shapes. Let's switch sides. Extend your left leg long out to the left side of your mat. Rock your weight onto your left cheek. Sweep your right leg around. You want to have some space so it's a little bit more than a 90-degree angle if you can. Turn and face your left leg. Flex your toes. First, bring some muscular engagement, and then do the opposite. We learn through contrast, right? You got to know your edges to find your center. Inhale, scoop your heart forward. Get as long as you can through your spine. Maintain this length as you bow forward, hinging at your hips. Then once you feel that first layer of resistance, that's when you drop your head and as best as you can, melt into the pose. Notice that when I use my prop, I actually came out of the pose slightly. That's perfectly fine. Find the shape that's most comfortable for you that you can maintain with the steadiness of your breath. If sensation ever arises that's too much, simply back up 1 step. These longer postures help us to get into the practice of responding rather than reacting. So when a sharp sensation arises, can you stay with your breath and simply just pull back slightly? You're still engaged, still fully present, but creating a new healthy boundary within you. Know that when you mindfully step up to your edges and bring your full presence to them, your edge grows as you get comfortable. As you soften, your edge softens too. Bring your hands down to either the earth or your props. Slowly rise up. Nice work. We'll shift to turn to the center of the check mark. I'll use my bolster for this time through. And shake out your left foot. Mine started to flex a little bit there. It was a reaction within my body. Okay, inhale, press your hands down, reach your heart high. Exhale, fold forward to your degree. Some of you might be able to lay all the way down. I used to be able to over a decade ago. But know that changing is part of life, right? And yoga invites us to work with our bodies as they are right now. Not as we remember them, how they once were, not as we hope they will be. Yoga is a practice of full presence and acceptance for right now what is. Breathe in and feel what's here for you to uniquely work with. And let this process of these poses be nourishing, not only physically, but also energetically and mentally. When we choose to be fully present in the moment, we free ourselves up from worry of the past and worry of the future. 3 more deep breaths here, yogis. Notice if you can come further into the shape or if you need to back up to be in the fullness of your breath for the rest of the pose. And then slowly pressing your hands and your arms, rise back up. Nice work. Shift your props over to the side. Rock your weight onto your left cheek. Sweep your right leg around. You may need to use your hands to help you get to center. Pedal out your knees. Shift your feet side to side. Pedal out your knees again. Those were some long holds. So when we take those longer holds, it's kind of like putting a kink in a garden hose, and the pressure starts to build in different parts of the hose, right? Then when we unkink the hose, the water flows freely. Same goes for our energetic flow within our tissues. We'll come into saddle pose. So this is a passive back bend or a yin style back bend. I will use my blocks today, but know that you can use your bolster as well. If you have a bolster or a cushion, you can place it right behind your sacrum, snuggle it up against your sacrum, touch your big toes together, spread your knees a little wider than your hips. We're seated on the heels, and this may be enough for you. If you feel enough of a stretch in your quads, you just stay here. I'll set up my blocks to support me in this back bend. So I want the first block to support my thoracic spine, the space between my shoulder blades. Second block to support the head. Key action, if you want to progress beyond seated upright, bring your hands behind you, lift your hips up, slide your tailbone through, sit back down on your heels. You'll feel more intensity in your quads already. You might stay here, or you can start to lay down. You want to be comfortable and feel a gentle stretch. Stretch enough that you can maintain it for a few minutes, the duration of the pose. Turn your palms up once you get into the shape, or you can even bring one hand to your heart, one hand to your low belly. Close your eyes and begin to deepen your breath. Notice if you can sense or feel some imbalance within your body as soon as you come into the pose. If there are any adjustments that you can make, go ahead and do so. I felt my right hip slightly higher than my left, so I just made a simple self-assist on my heels. And then soften in, investigate what impact did that simple shift make. Now that you've been here a little while, if you need to either come slightly up or lower down more into the pose, please do so. Your breath is your tool, your feedback tool, to know when you've come into the shape that is designed for you, destined for you right now. Bring your palms to the earth. Use your hands and your arms to gently press yourself up. Once you come up to a neutral spine, bring your knees together, palms to your thighs. Slide your tailbone down as you zip up your low belly. Integrate at your center. Close your eyes. One breath in. Open mouth, exhale. Blink your eyes open. All right, bring one hip down to the ground. We'll swing our legs out in front of us. You can use either blocks or a bolster here. We're going to do two variations of a forward fold. First one, knees bent. This is my favorite way to teach forward folds. You can slide your blocks underneath your knees. You've got 3 settings, so find the one that works best for you. Or if you have a cushion, this might be my favorite way to use a bolster. All right, bring your knees or your bolster underneath your knees. When we bend our knees in any forward folds, it lessens the intensity and helps us to get more length through the whole spine. So grab the flesh underneath your sits bones, gently pull it back. Place your palms on top of the bolster or right next to you on the mat. Inhale, stretch your heart forward. Exhale, hinge at your hips, think ribs to thighs. Exhale, fold when you've hit your layer of resistance that's designed for you, not pushing, not hanging back. Then soften your feet, extend your arms forward and bow your head. Notice where this shows up for you. I've said this before, but every forward fold I come into, I always feel it in my neck first. Neck and shoulders. I had an injury when I was in college where I sprained my neck. I'm a mama of 2 young ones. I carry them around, have for the last 4 years. So how I live impacts what I feel in the poses. So notice where you feel these shapes, where you can send your breath that'll start to unwind your tissues and nourish you, body, mind, and heart. Ground your hands, gently lift your gaze forward, exhale, then rise up to a seat. Okay, remove your props from underneath your knees. Or if that was feeling good, you stay and do number 2. We'll try the second forward fold with legs extended. This time, the bolster or blocks will go on top of the shins or the thighs. Inhale, place your hands down. Inhale, scoop your heart up. Notice if your feet are flexed. It's kind of a reaction or a habit for me. So I need to consciously soften so that I can nourish the tissues from the bottoms of my feet all the way up to the top of our heads. Inhale, exhale, bow forward, then lay down on your bolster, your cushion. Your head can be forward or you can turn to one side or the other. If you have a big cushion like I do, you can even set it up on the higher setting and just simply drop your head. Find the degree of pose that's in that sweet spot for you between too much and not enough. Once you find your edge and you lovingly come into your edge, compassionately sense your edge, then you can be at your edge in the fullness of your breath. And that edge with your full presence begins to melt, begins to grow. Tension and tightness in the body. It's just stuck energy. So as we slow down, pay attention, and choose to soften at our edges. This is when we bring nourishment into our tissues, especially the dense, deep tissues like fascia, the connective tissues, that hold and support us all day long, hold and support all of our major joints. So take 5 more deep, nourishing, mindful breaths here, yogis. When you're complete, lift your gaze. Exhale, pull your belly back, engage your core. Use your core strength to lift up to neutral on your next inhale. Slide your props out to the side. We're coming into the final and most important pose. So shift your seat to the center of your mat, then extend your legs long. Lay down on your back, turn your palms to face up. I'll meet you seated at the top of our mats. Once you're fully surrendered in your final rest pose, also known as corpse pose, close your eyes, and as best as you can, let go of any effort. Continue this practice of slowing down, being still, for the intention of nourishment of the body, mind, and spirit. Final rest, Shavasana. If you have the space and the time to stay in this final rest and to receive more of the benefits from your postures and your practice, please do so. If you're ready to move on, begin to move your fingers and your toes. Rock your head side to side. And sweep your arms long overhead as you slide your feet together. Stretch your whole body. Reawaken. Take a deep inhale here. Open mouth, exhale. Pull your knees into your chest. Hug in. And gently roll over to one side. Maybe your left side, your yin side today. As you're turned inward, notice how you feel now. With your eyes still closed, press yourself up to a seat. Let's meet facing one another with our hands united at heart center. When we take the time to slow down, really listen, whether it's to ourselves or the divine beings on the path with us. We bring nourishment into our experiences, physically, mentally, emotionally, and more. Let's chant one Om to celebrate our practice of nourishment today. Take a deep breath in. Lift your prayer hands up to your third eye. Bowing forward, together we say Namaste. Thank you, yogis. I'm Leah Cullis, and I'm so grateful to sharing this practice with you today. Please join us for more yoga and meditation on round.glass or on our app. Be well.